Hi, everybody, again. So this will be a long time, probably 1 hour. Thank you, thank you. So they told me, hey, you need to give the lightning talk about OPEA, but we had some sessions about OPEA. So I didn't want to do like the typical lightning talk when we introduce the project, because you know the project. So I wanted to give a highlight on what happened in OPEA in the latest release and what will happen in the future. So before that, you showed this beautiful slide, not with those partners, with more partners, but we have 55 partners. It means that 55 companies are contributing to this project. Again, it's not just Intel, it's tons of companies contributing, vector databases, their components, guardrails, prediction guard, JFrog for orchestration, I don't know, VMware, all of them are there. And this list is growing. So this is great for the project. But the project itself has multiple components or multiple parts or multiple projects within the project. One is the GenAI examples. I will not go in details of all of them, but just keep in mind that you have the project that you can contribute your own component. There is another project where you can see all the blueprints, those end-to-end deployments when you can download Docker Compose files or Helm charts. You can go there and you can download it. If you are working with Kubernetes, you have a specific project that talks about Terraforms, Helm charts, and all the things related with Kubernetes. Evals, if you are into evals, you also have another project that talks about performance, accuracy, and all the things related with related with evals. So what's new? The project has new releases every 2 months-ish. So there was a new release a month ago, which mainly, you know that in OPEA we have more than 20 blueprints. But there's one blueprint, or two blueprints actually, that are growing in a lot of interest. One is agents. So there is a blueprint related with agents. So the new release added some functionality on the agents. There are SQL agents, if you like to measure the performance of those agents. It was added to the project too. Code generation using RAG and agents. So there are tons of things. There are lots of things happening on the agents part. Another thing is Graph RAG. For those of you that are familiar with RAG, for some use cases, RAG is not so useful when you have a huge database or huge information. So in those cases, you need to rely on Graph RAGs. And there is another trend that is growing a lot in those examples. There are tons of things that were added thanks to Neo4j. There are tons of things that were added there. One more thing was the LLMs. We care about how those LLMs perform, actually. So VLM is the default key implementation. So all the deployments you have, they all use VLM as a default. With VLM is the optimized version of the LLMs. They are all but by default. And there are more models that can be used, which means that they were tested in OPEA. Those of DeepSeek, and Granite, Mistral, and all of them. There's a trend also on the toxicity part or in the guardrails. So there's a lot of work that is happening there. So there are toxicity module also that was added to the model or available for your deployments. And there's a lot of other things that are happening, integrations. All of those components, they use LangChain, they use Llama Index, and now Haystack wanted to be part too. So they added their own component, which uses the Haystack API within those components. And there is a telemetry part that was added too. We talked about microservices, deployment, and telemetry is very important when you need to see what is happening actually in your deployment. So this was enabled in the latest version to trace how your RAG application performs and how your agent Q&A performs. In the next releases, of course, that will be spread in the others examples. But the main idea is to start growing on that. And that happened 1 month ago. So, but what is next? Probably something similar, but more focus on agents. So there are some components that will be added: agent, human in the loop, SMO agents, DeepSearch agents. There are some companies and people that is contributing their own agents, as what was the case of the finance agent. You have the blueprint, If you are working in finance, there's an agent example that you can use. There is a blueprint. GraphRag, same for Neo4j. Arango DB will be adding their own version of GraphRags. The project also provides something related with fine-tuning, right? Even though you don't specifically, OPEA is for inference, but you can fine-tune your model. So it gives you the tools so you can fine-tune those models. And something really fancy, MCP, if those of you used agents, MCP is out there. So the question that we got all the time is, when are you going to be adding MCP to your project? So it will be in the next release. And this is very important to mention because every time there's a new release, this is a stable project. So we cannot keep adding features that are buzzwords, for instance, right? So it has to be validated, it has to be added. These are enterprises use cases. So now in the next release, you have the option to add MCP agents to your application. And one more, it's the next release will be the infrastructure part, will be integrated in Cube AI, multiple Helm charts, and multiple Terraforms. Terraforms we already had it for Azure, AWS, and GCP, but there are other providers like IBM Cloud that they didn't have the Terraforms, so now those Terraforms will be available in the next release. And there are some announcements. I will be sharing those links, but there are some appliances that companies are starting to build for you to run OPEA there, which is the case of NetApp AI Pod, and also some solutions, some partners or some enterprises that are starting to use those RAG applications. So that's it. The call to action, as Shirley and Kathleen said, be involved, join to our working group, bring an enterprise use case, provide feedback, be part, because this is an open source project. Thank you so much.
Big round of applause for Easy.